What's up, Slam and Lid Slappers? I'm Quackers Co., and this is the fish fry for October 26th, being held at the spawning grounds. Our cookware composition is the Splash-O-Matic, the Splash-O-Wiper, the Splattershot Pro, and the Rapid Blaster Pro. With the map spawning grounds, it's helpful to think that every single weapon needs to provide a certain percentage of power to meet 100%. So whether it's against lessers or bosses, all of these enemies need to be dealt with. Otherwise, snowballing will happen, and you won't be able to use that power that you have. Our composition for this run has some really tight aim with it, so it might be a really good rotation to hone in your aim. Or if your aim is already good, get in there and provide that damage. But remember, once one of you goes down, that's 25% of your damage output that's gone. So for the most success on spawning grounds, always try to move in between the walls and platforms as quick as possible. Movement on those grates is always very slow, but it can be useful sometimes whenever you're out of ink and there's a bunch of enemy ink or rain that's coming down, and you just need to move a little bit of distance. But remember, as soon as your ink comes back, paint onto the wall or onto the ground and get yourself moving. There's 3 different locations where salmonids spawn on spawning grounds, and these separate locations themselves have 3 different spots on them that salmonids can come from. So staying any time down there will cause you to have something get up on your backside. And in a game like Splatoon, sometimes having a wider spread is better for painting turf or taking out hordes. So with this weapon setup, always make sure that you're doing left and right strafing movements when you're attacking. Try to get as much ink going everywhere that you can, but the good news is, when you need to provide that straightforward damage, you'll have it. The walls closest to the basket are usually the ones that you want to paint the most, but each side that a person spawns on has 3 walls that they can paint that would provide the best movement. And this map is likely to give you a little bit of a surprise sometimes. So always think if you're dropping off of a ledge, or no matter what platform it is, make sure that you have a safe landing that you're coming down to. Have a strategy to get out of there. For grillers or glowflies, moving in between the 2 platforms usually works the best. And if you do use wall hangs, try to use them only for quick moments of moving the salmonids around to create an opening for reviving somebody, or using your special. But remember, when your specials are over, this map can be insanely strategic if you really look at it. And in glowflies and grillers, once one person goes down, like I said before, that's 25% of your damage output. And then one more person goes down, 50%. That's a snowball right there. Make sure they don't happen. And low tide on spawning grounds can be really weird. Just like high tide and low tide, there's 3 main locations that the salmonids spawn from. But if we can't get to that shoreline, we're not going to be able to reach our priority targets. And since we don't have the walls like high tide or low tide, we have to paint more of the turf because that's what our movement is going to be based on. The more turf we have painted, the more space we have to lure bosses and salmonids to better locations, that way other players can make advances on shoreline bosses. And if you need some quick coverage from the splash damage of a stillhead bomb or a flyfish missile, these barrels can be used to block that damage. And I'm learning more and more about salmonids every day. After they've activated, you can swim through them to get on top of them. And once a stillhead bomb and a slammer lid collide, who knows what's going to happen. There are a few shortcuts out here on low tide. I don't know exactly how useful they are though. So make sure you provide that firepower that your team's going to need. The Splash-O-Wiper and the Splash-O-Matic have really good small fry control. So on a griller's match, once that griller is stunned, try to focus your fire on the small fry. And here's a couple interesting things about the crab tank special. Its bomb attack does pierce through enemies, so that makes it one of the best tools for reviving someone that has a huge amount of enemies around them. Not just can that bomb blow up flyfish baskets, but if you nail the shot almost right in the middle between where the 2 baskets open, you can actually take them out in one shot. And its Gatling attack works really well against the Kohozuna. And of course, with any salmon run match that you're playing, always try to make sure you paint as much as you can in the beginning and end of the waves. The only reason that you shouldn't be painting those walls at the end of the wave is because you're riding on a salmon lid. Spawning grounds is definitely the hardest salmon run stage, so on wave 3, pull out all those stops you need to get that clear, and feel accomplished. This stage is very difficult. Alright, let's get into the cookware. Our first cooking utensil is the Splash-O-Matic. The Splash-O-Matic has an incredibly tight aim, and that allows it to cover flipper-flopper splash zones super quick. But if you lean too much on this weapon's damage, you'll find things getting a little too close to you. It's also the best painting tool, so try to do your best to paint those walls. Our second cooking utensil is the Splattershot. The Splattershot is a little bit awkward with wall painting, but if you try to move in between vertical slashes and horizontal slashes, you can get walls painted pretty well. Just like the Stamper, it does have a forward dash attack, but that should rarely be used for bosses. Try to find those points where you can either stand still or side strafe your enemies. Doing a forward dash on a scrapper will end you up with a splat. But with the horizontal slash doing 50 damage, the vertical slash doing 150, and when you connect that vertical slash doing 325 damage, it's going to be tempting to get that damage all the way connected to your enemies. So try to get it there, but don't leave yourself in danger. If you're attacking a horde, dash forward, use that blast of a slash you have, retreat back, and then do it again. It might be smarter to side strafe instead of using that forward dash though. Our third cooking utensil is the Splattershot Pro. The Splattershot Pro, just like the Splash-O-Matic, has some incredibly tight aim. Its range is really good, but this thing just eats up ink incredibly fast. If you play too aggressively, you're going to be getting hit left and right. So try to move in between all those different higher platforms. If you go down to the shoreline, make sure you provide firepower, then get back up, get your ink back, and then get back down there. Rinse and repeat. Try to get that damage down there to the shoreline, but don't get yourself into trouble. Our last cooking utensil is the Rapid Blaster Pro. The Rapid Blaster Pro's range and aim is something that needs to be practiced, because once you get it down, this weapon is incredible at taking out lessers and bosses. It's just such an insane support tool. But if you try to be aggressive at all with it, it just doesn't have the damage output and the fire rate that you need. So with this being our range weapon of this composition, you'll need to get it to where it needs to be to provide that specific support. If you see a stinger laser, make sure that you take it out immediately. And with the range of the weapons like the Splattershot Pro and the Rapid Blaster Pro, you can paint those walls from further away, not just providing firepower support, but providing an exit for your teammates. Also, these two weapons will be incredible tools for taking out the Kohozuna. As long as the other players are focusing on lessers, you can then focus these two weapons on the Kohozuna and providing all that damage onto him and to bosses, creating eggs all over the place. They'll be dynamite tools on completing an extra wave. And remember that the fish fry comes out before the stage rotation, so if you want to catch these updates when they're hot and fresh, make sure you subscribe and hit that bell. And if you want other Grisco employees to receive these tips, make sure you like and share the video. Bye-bye.